to see you.
It's been a while.
It has been a while, isn't it?
Yes, it has. But thank you for having me.
Tell me your full name and cultural background.
Okay, my name is Aileen Huynh and my cultural background is Vietnamese, Chinese. I was born in Wollongong. So Vietnamese, Chinese, Australian.
I'm Joy Hopwood and my mum is Chinese and my dad's English, and I was born in Singapore.
Oh, my name is Alice Pung and my parents are Chinese, both born in Phnom Penh in Cambodia. So I guess I'm Chinese with Cambodian background, born in Australia.
Where in Australia did you grow up?
I grew up in Perth, Western Australia. I was there until I was about 21, and then I moved over to Sydney because I wanted to audition to be a presenter on Play School. So that was the reason why I moved to Sydney.
So I was actually almost born in a Thai refugee camp. My mum was 8 months pregnant when she came to Australia, and at the camp she told people she was only 5 months pregnant so they would let her on the plane. So a month after they got here I was born in Footscray at the Western General Hospital. Yeah.
Wollongong. Ever been there? Quite sheltered in a way.
Quite sheltered, hey?
Yes, yes. I always wondered what it would be like if I'd actually grown up in Sydney. I would have had a very different life. Wollongong's very different.
Wollongong. Why would you say it's different?
Well, prime example is that the majority, when I went to school, majority of kids there are white. So I was one of the only Asian kids at both my primary school and my high school. But Sydney is very different. Like, you would find that opposite. You would find that a lot of the kids here are Asian based, actually.
Joy is one of the contributors for Growing Up Asian in Australia. I became friends of a lot of the contributors in that book, and that's when we discovered the Laws, Benjamin and Michelle Law, and so many other wonderful Asian Australians in that book. Yeah. She submitted a story about being the first Asian presenter in Play School. I interviewed her, and that's how we became friends.
Well, I put out a question to the class saying, you know, what do you want to do when you grow up? And a Chinese girl and an Aboriginal boy said they wanted to work in the media and entertainment industry. And I said, well, go do it. And they said, well, why should we try? We don't even see anyone looking like ourselves on TV, so why bother? And I said, no, you should follow your dreams. And they said, well, it's not until we see people who look like us on TV that we'll give it a shot. And I said, well, I will try and be the first Asian presenter, a regular Asian presenter on Play School, and if I can do it, you can do it. And they said, well, go. And so I did, and I sold everything I owned in Perth, and I moved to Sydney. Yeah, I sold everything. It was like a car, a garage sale, and I sold everything, even my car, actually.
When I went to university, and people were very fascinated by my unique cultural heritage, that's when I realised, oh, not many Chinese Cambodians make it to Melbourne University and study law, or, you know, do whatever they do at Melbourne University. Yeah.
And how did you get into writing?
At the same time I was studying at university, so I just wrote a lot of short stories, and I had great tutors that encouraged me to submit them to magazines and journals, which I did, and they started to get published. And then when I was 20, an editor, who's my editor to this day for 17 years, he called me up out of the blue because he read one of my stories and he thought it could be, you know, a part of a book. He thought it was an interesting story. So that's how I started my writing career, even before I finished my degree. So I've been very lucky.
Had to get an agent, and I filmed episodes of Play School that I wrote myself and sent a VHS, it was in the 90s, late 90s, to ABC, and I was lucky to get an audition. And I didn't get it the first time, I got it the second time, so it was a long process. So it was in my 20s that I was lucky to get a part as a presenter on Play School.
I ran across the road to where my mother was staying because I was at my auntie's. They live across the road from my grandmother's place, and she was already in bed. And I ran into the room and I kind of woke her up, and I'm like, Mum, I got into Whopper, I'm going over to Perth. And she looked at me and she was like, oh, you're not serious, are you? Like, that was her reaction. It was like, yeah, you're just joking. What do you mean you're going to Perth? And then I was like, no, I'm going. It was like, oh no, she's serious about it. She spent 3 years doing it at Wollongong and now she's going to spend another 3 years over there. Like, there's no, yeah, that's it. And to be honest, after that, they have been the most supportive parents. Like, I couldn't ask for more supportive parents. They've never questioned it again. They never questioned it after that. They were just like, yep, go for your life. And I don't think I would have the same mind frame, positive mind frame, if it weren't for their attitude on that.
I get letters from mainly young adult women, you know, be they teenagers or women in their 20s. And over the past 8 to 10 years, I've established not only written correspondence with them, like pen pal relationships. I'll give you an example. There's a young and very talented writer named Shu-Ling Chua, who I've known since she was, you know, about 18, 19, very early in her career, even before she knew she wanted to be a writer. And just to offer that kind of informal mentorship has really been enriching for me. And to see a new generation of writers cover subjects that I never would dare. She writes about sex, you know, which I'm from a different generation. I don't write about it in my books. And I thought, wow, this is wonderful. This is writing that I'd like to read about. So it's wonderful to find new voices.
There's another Asian Australian writer who, I can't remember.
Female?
Yes, female, and she
Yeah.
wrote a book.
Banana Girl.
Yes.
Michelle Lee. I love Michelle.
That's
yes.
the one.
Yeah.
mentioned it was about
Actually, no,
sex.
you're right. She's similar to me in age, and she did write. Yeah. She's a trailblazer.
I think it's great because everyone wants to feel that they belong, and the children that I taught, they didn't feel like they belonged because they didn't see themselves on TV. And that's why the Media Entertainment Arts Alliance set up the Diversity Committee, which I'm a proud member to be part of. I'm the New South Wales rep. The Playwriting Australia and the Australian Writers Guilds have embraced this initiative, and leaders like Benjamin Law and Alice Pung, who have helped change as writers. Like Benjamin Law has the Family Law on SBS, and it's doing very well. And two people that I admire greatly, because I met them in 2008 when we were contributing writers for Growing Up Asian in Australia, and they haven't changed from that time to where they are now, and they're at the top of their game, and they have remained humble and creative and very embracing to new emerging writers and people in the entertainment industry, and I think it's great. And we need more people like them who have been egoless and so generous.
Well, I always say that I think my answer to this used to be, look, if you're really passionate about this, then totally, you got to do it. Like, if there's nothing else that you want to do, you have to. How can you not? But if there is something else that you think, I can do it, and I'm going to be just as happy, do that instead, because the arts can be really problematic.
That's where I met you first.
Yeah.
I'd say go for it, but also find people and clubs, and like Aileen said, the collective, that was a good place where a meetup, so to speak, where people of the same interests gather together. I think it's good to have a group of people that support your passion, and I think it's important that, you know, if you're starting out, try not to do it alone like I did. I think try and find a group of people and bond with them and nurture each other and support each other. And I think you'll go far having that support.
Oh, I guess the best advice I'd offer them, which is advice I can offer now because the industry's changed so much, is you can write what you want. You don't need to be circumscribed by writing about your identity, even though that might be the thing that you want to write the most. Write what you want to write the most. Yeah,
that was an answer I did a while back, but now my answer kind of veers a bit off that, because now with a lot of the social media talk that we have, where diversity is such a huge issue now, and the box office numbers are huge, you know, and we realize now that diversity does sell. So now I'm like, I would probably say to a young person, like, you have every right to be in this arena because these stories need to be told. They must be told. Like, we can't not tell them. And if you want to be a part of them, you shouldn't be afraid because things are changing. The tide is changing. Yes, these stories we do value. They're being valued, and that's a far cry of what I would have said even 5 years ago.
The stories that you had to share, I'm sure a lot of people will be able to find value from what we've talked about today, and from what Aileen has had to share, and what Alice will have to share as well. And yeah, all the best for the future projects you have. I really want to keep in touch with you about that and see how it goes.
Great, thank you very much, Michael.
Thanks so much, Michael. It's been a great interview. Thank you.
I'll see you again in the future, right?
Yes, of course we will, Michael. Thank you very much for having me.